Hey Next Generation, it is Amy here again, and I'm going to be talking to you all about physical boundaries and dating. It is a very commonly asked question, and it was something that you guys said on Instagram that you really wanted to hear about, so let's get right into it. So to start off with, one of the foundational things you need to know in order to talk about physical boundaries in dating and understanding what that might look like is the mentality behind it. So if you're asking the question, like how far is too far, or if you're asking, you want to see like a clear kind of cut line, unfortunately I can't offer you that, and that is just not the way it works. I think the most important thing with physical boundaries is the mentality that you have, and it's about loving the other person and not using them. When you start to understand how you want to truly love that person, and in past videos I've talked about what real love looks like, and I guess in physical boundaries that means not using the other person for your own gratification in that physical way. So that can also look like willing their good in terms of not wanting them to fall into sin, so not wanting them to, even if you yourself aren't falling into sin, what if the other person is, and how you are responsible for that. So having that mentality as to how can I get this other person closer to God, not how close can I get them to turning their backs on God, It's that mentality of wanting them to get to heaven, to become a saint. That mentality, that is the most important as like straight foundation. And if you kind of use that criteria and go through a couple examples, like for example passionate kissing is one which I used on my Instagram recently. Passionate kissing might tempt the other person to feel like they want to go further, then in that case, no, right? You don't want to even put the person that you love in a situation where they might be tempted. So that's an example of why passionate kissing isn't okay in dating. And there's so many more examples, but as long as you use that criteria, how can I draw this person closer to God, rather than getting them as close as I can to, for example, a metaphor that I hear a lot is how close can I get this person to like the edge of a cliff. You don't want to do that, right? You want them to be as far away from the edge of the cliff as possible. Just understanding that mentality is so important, and I guess none of us are perfect. Definitely myself, I've made mistakes too, but it's learning to kind of rejig your brain and be like, if I truly love this person, how can I draw them closer to God? How can I draw them closer to sainthood and away from temptation and away from sin, and not wanting to even risk them being in that situation that could hurt them. So, or even lying with your body, right? So you don't want that person to believe that they're going to go further than you yourself know that you don't want to do, right? So why would you even, put them in a situation that's going to make them question that or want to do more than they know that you don't want to do? So things like that is really important, and it can help you with literally any physical boundaries that you might be struggling with in your dating relationship. And I think it's so key to talk about it as well. Talk with your boyfriend, talk with your girlfriend about it, and more often than not, if they truly love you, they will respect those boundaries, and they will also want to work on it, not just because that's something that you believe in, but that's something that can also draw you closer to God. So it shouldn't just be a one-way thing, it needs to be both of you. And another very, very important point is confession, and I constantly mention this, but it is just so important, and it's such a beautiful grace that God has gifted us with. So if you ever fall, you ever make a mistake, talk to your person that you're dating about it and be like, I'm so sorry that I put you in that predicament, and I'm going to go run to God now, and I'm going to say, hey Lord, like I'm so sorry, I never want to do that again. So having that real act of contrition is super important too. So those are like my 3 main points: that mentality behind it, an example, that passionate kissing one, and just try use that criteria with lots of different things. There is no like fine cut line, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of difficult because you're always looking for, you can do that, you can't do that, you can do this, you can't do that, but unfortunately that is just not the case. And I think it's just really freeing when you do start to understand what it means to love in the sense of willing the good of the other person, and it frees you to love in a way that the world says is not possible, because the world says that in order to be free you need to be able to do anything, but that is not always right. Sometimes true freedom, in fact all of the time, true freedom requires doing the right thing, and the right thing is about getting this person to heaven and not leading them into temptation. And I guess the whole pinnacle of this physical boundaries thing, it kind of points to the problem with today's world in understanding the sacredness of the marital act. Like I said, it's a marital act, so it's for marriage. So if you're even, you know, leading that person closer to that and you're not in marriage, then that's when it becomes a bit of a problem, right? And I think that really does show the state of the world today, and how our minds are just like so confused. And I'm certainly one of those people, and I guess it's just so much easier to say this stuff and a lot harder to act and to live it. So I'm encouraging you guys to really speak about this. It's a conversation that you should be having with your dating relationships really often. It pretty much can never really be talked about too much. It's such an important topic, and I guess the more you talk about it, the more you get to know the other person's triggers, the more you get to know how you can love the other person better, and how you can also look after yourself as well. And I guess being really firm in that is just something that will free you to love in a way that you won't really know until you do it. You won't really know how freeing it is when you place those boundaries down. So I hope that was helpful, and God bless you all. Please like, subscribe, and check out our Instagram as well. We've got lots of amazing content coming out. I would love for you guys to support me in that, and have an amazing week.